The need for a second stimulus package is even more severe than ever before and urgent because of the upswing of COVID-19 cases. Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. An unpredicted fourth video, which we had no intentions of shooting, as you can certainly tell from my wardrobe. I was actually intending to go out, and I saw the number of cases and the news reporting, and I'm going to reflect on what I saw last night as well, that it has now become a grave concern of where this country is heading for the number of COVID-19 cases, with a lack of senator and congressional movement on a second stimulus check video. You see I have my bandana on, you see that I'm dressed casual. This is quite unusual, at least for me, to give a rant, but I see the comments you had to earlier today's videos, which are really responding quite well, and here's my deep concern. There's an issue about timing, there's an issue about finances, and there's an issue about COVID-19 cases, and the second stimulus movement from members of Congress is deplorable. There really is a big problem. The problem a week ago was that members of Congress are on vacation and continue to take vacations. Viewers of this channel are enraged, as I am, that members of Congress are not around to get an emergency second stimulus package approved, and that we now have a finite window that they can get it approved starting in late July when they come back in session, and that they only have until August 8th to get it finalized. But there is a bigger concern that other bodies of the government, which have the inherent authority to get a second stimulus package authorized due to their inherent charter abilities, have not. Those are the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. As this channel has been detailing the last few days, the Treasury and the Federal Reserve have the ability to issue emergency orders to give stimulus into the economy. The Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, earlier last week actually, was asked point blank this question, and he responded yes, that the Federal Reserve has an enormous amount of money allocated to put into the economy for a second stimulus package and does not need congressional approval. In fact, a very finite amount of that money has already been used since allocation in March, and that the Fed can allocate more money. Then there's the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin has been very vocal about his concern about the unemployment rate. The viewers of this channel are everything from SSI, SSDI, unemployed, partially unemployed, furloughed, individuals who have businesses who have not been able to reopen or have reopened the businesses and are now facing re-shutdown, individuals who are W-2s that don't have a stable employer at the moment. It's all over the place. We did our hazard pay video today, and Steve Mnuchin has said that he is deeply concerned about the unemployment levels of this country. Well, how about the number of COVID-19 cases? Here is the concern. The concern is the rapid number of COVID-19 cases in some states across this country. And as those numbers increase, they can spread into other states. Florida, moments ago, released their data, and it's just shocking. 10,000 new cases. There were 45,000 new cases, COVID-19 cases on Friday. The number of cases in states like California, Arizona, Texas, Florida are just out of control. When you look at the chart, they were in the hundreds, then a slow number of the thousands, and now they are literally straight up. It's that type of lack of elected officials' activity that is so horrible at this point. I don't care if it's Republican, I don't care if it's Democrat. There were moments ago, several leading medical analysts appeared on CNN and blasted local, state, and federal leaders for being slow in responding to the spread of COVID-19. What's problematic is that ultimately, if you're infected with COVID-19, you cannot work. And if you're at home, the person who's caring for you cannot work. And with this, we have this lack of second stimulus packages being approved. Here's the problem. There are all these programs that are just days away from expiring. And where are members of Congress? On vacation. And about ready to start their next vacation. You have the FPUC, the federal government's provision of $600 per week that goes from March to July, expiring in July. You have mortgage forbearance, property owners' abilities not to, they're concerned that they don't have to meet their mortgage obligation and have foreclosures against them expiring in late July. You have loan forgiveness of student debt at interest and principal expiring in late July. You have landlord-tenant eviction moratoriums that landlords can't evict tenants during a prescribed period in certain counties, expiring in July. All these items are coming up. And yet, what are governors, what are county leaders doing? They're rolling back to just closing a bar or two. That is not sufficient, as medical examiners have been stating all day long. When you show tens of thousands of new cases of COVID-19, just closing bars is not a sufficient response. Closing bars is not comprehensive enough. First of all, there is a concern that you have not allocated your state resources for your people. You have not stepped up and helped your people financially, and you have not done anything to help the health and safety of your people. Earlier today, we detailed a wonderful assembly person who's out of California. This is a state assembly person. This is not someone in Washington, but someone in California, who understands that there are lots and lots of people, like viewers of this channel, who have not gotten their benefits, whether it's PUA or PPP or EIDL or PIA or UI. In her case, it was people who had not gotten PUA, and UI. She says she's doing 50 cases a day, new cases a day, for people who have not gotten a single penny. So what are governments going to do? What are states going to do when they see 40-something thousand new cases a day spreading across the country? And they have yet to process PUA or UI from March. It's horrific. It's horrific. And to say that call centers are down and that staffing is low, well, states were dedicated millions, if not billions of dollars in the CARES Act. Where are they using that money? Why aren't they allocating those resources to get their call centers working? In California, if you're on PUA or UI and you call EDD, which is our state unemployment offices, you can't get through. If there's a problem, you can't get through. If you're waiting to receive your measly $167 per week from California for unemployment, you can't get it. You can't get through. It's that type of concern coupled with this sort of arrogant idiocy of people like Mitch McConnell who say that they don't have economic data. The economic data is right in your face. The economic data is right there. What are these senators doing? I don't care if you're Republicans or Democrats. I called out Kamala Harris in California because she's a Democrat. She's a wonderful person. She has not responded to people of this channel who have problems with EIDL loans and EIDL grants or PPP loans. She has not helped a single person of this channel. There were people and members of Congress who have literally done nothing but go on vacation. And yet you have these people like Mitch McConnell who says they don't have economic data. Well, here is the economic data. Thursday's labor numbers from the Department of Labor were horrific. It showed new jobless claims were the worst as ever. 14th consecutive week of 1 million new unemployment claims. That's data for you. 13% unemployment rate. That's data for you. We were 3% before the pandemic. 40,000 new COVID cases on Friday. That means there's 40,000 new unemployed people that day. We have 10,000, 10,000 COVID new cases today in Florida alone in one state. That's 10,000 more unemployed people. What type of data do you need, and where the hell are you? Why aren't you in your office getting laws passed to put money in the hands of the American citizens, to protect the bodies of your elected of your constituents? I don't care if you're from Kentucky. I don't care if you're from California. The net result is that elected officials have gone ghosting, have literally disappeared. They have the ability, whether it's congressional or Federal Reserve or Steve Mnuchin in the Treasury, they have the ability to do emergency orders. But why haven't they? All we have heard in the last 3 days is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut shutting their borders for people flying in from states that are COVID-19 escalators, if there's such an adjective. That's very little. Moments ago, Gavin Newsom, California, shut down bars. Okay, Gavin, how about everything else that you rolled out too quickly? What I saw last night on a personal note, was truly disgusting. And I detailed it shortly on Twitter last night, but I'll detail it to you in more explicit details right now. And it's an example of what's going wrong very quickly. As you know, in California, you're required to wear a mask if you're in public currently. You're required to wear a mask if you're in a restaurant, if you're not, while you're not eating. You're required to be, while dining, to be, social distancing. So what I saw last night was I was driving through a beachy community, as people say. This channel has a lot of beachy thumbnails. A beachy community of Los Angeles called Manhattan Beach, Southern California. It's part of LA County. And I drove near its pier. And as has been the case in LA County, the authorities have allowed restaurants to put dining outside in what would normally be the parking spots of the street in front of a business. Good idea. It is a good idea until you saw what I saw last night. The restaurants put the tables right on top of each other. So what you saw exteriorly was just a lot of tables right on top of each other. Like a scene out of Seinfeld, or a scene out of Carnegie Deli, or a scene out of When Harry Met Sally. The tables were right on top of each other. Even worse were the diners. No mask in sight. And you have to understand who these diners were. They were all walks of life, all different types of people, all different ages groups. But they had this inherent smug, holier-than-thou look, as though they knew it better, that they could be in public, that they could be on top of someone else, and they could be dining without a mask on. Next to them were two other takeout establishments. One was for ice cream and another one was like a pizza takeout. And what you saw in front of them looked like a scene out of a Star Wars movie release. About 50 to 150 people in line to get their favorite takeout, standing on top of each other, with no mask. Within that short distance of an area right in front of the Manhattan Beach Pier, I saw somewhere between 500 to 1,000 people, literally on top of each other, with no mask. What's going on? What is going on from both the local level, from not enforcing masks, the mindset of these people, to the governor's level, allowing these things to happen when you clearly see these pictures on social media in the last 2-3 days? What is going on? Now, we do know that in LA County, several officials have unfortunately received threats against their lives. And we have seen in certain parts of this country that a lot of people have been appearing at these town halls and threatening political officials that how dare them ask them to wear a mask. But that's no excuse not to protect their citizens. That is no excuse to not provide a second stimulus package. Here we have FPUC, $600 from the federal government expiring in just a matter of a few days. You have all these new jobless claims. You have all this draining of state resources. And yet, what do you have? Nothing from members of Congress, but a big old fat holiday. And so as you see me sitting here, dressed about to go out, I'd rather not. I don't think that elected officials are now protecting their citizens. They are not protecting for the moment, for a health standpoint, and they're certainly not preparing their citizens or their economy or their operations for what could happen financially in a very short period of time. We already know why we needed the CARES Act back in March. But when the HEROES Act was passed in May, the situation of this country was entirely different. Now you know the situation at the moment in June. And what is being done? Nothing. It's time for senators to come back from their vacation. It's time for them to get down to work. It's time for the president, the Treasury, to issue emergency orders. It's time for the Federal Reserve to issue emergency orders that gives stimulus to the citizens, the states, and the local government. And it's time for governors and counties to rethink their opening of their individual businesses. It's not working, and until a second stimulus package is passed quickly and fast, it'll be too little and too late. This is LALATE.